And now, the general weather around Alaska.
Welcome to Alaska Weather. I'm meteorologist Peter Chan, coming to you from the National Weather Service in Alaska region on this Tuesday, August 6, 2024. And if you'd like additional weather information on top of what I give you in this YouTube video, you can go to weather.gov. That is the National Weather Service's online presence. It'll bring you to a map of the continental U.S. with Hawaii and Alaska to the lower left, and then tabs for the territories. And if you point and click anywhere on this map, it'll give you a very specific forecast with any relevant watches, warnings, or advisories for anywhere in the nation. Quick check of the map on this Tuesday afternoon. We have Tropical Storm Debbie. Although the storm isn't so much a threat with wind and storm surge, it is still a powerhouse when it comes to flooding rains. There is the potential for 15 to 20 inches of rain, locally higher amounts along areas of South Carolina into southeast Georgia. And these locations could see some catastrophic flooding as a result of that. We have heat advisories out for areas of the deep south, and then back here in the northern Rockies, severe thunderstorm watches, Montana out into western South Dakota. Red flag warnings for critical fire conditions here in the central northern Rockies, and then excessive heat warnings that include Las Vegas and Death Valley, California. But here in Alaska, we're dealing with another round of historic flooding in the vicinity of Juneau as a result of the Suicide Basin Glacier Dam release. That started on Sunday morning and then reached a crescendo late last night into the pre-dawn hours of this Tuesday morning. A new historic crest, 15.99 feet. That's a foot above last year's catastrophic flood, and I'll talk more about that. And then check this out. Dead Horse up there along the Arctic coast, new all-time record high temperature of 88 degrees. That surpasses the old all-time record of 85 degrees set on July 13th in 2016. And if that's not enough, Kodiak City set a daily rainfall record yesterday for August 5th, 3.81 inches of rainfall, and areas along the western northwestern Gulf Coast will continue to see some heavier rain. We're gradually going to see a cooling trend work its way west to east across the mainland as we go through the rest of this week into the weekend. And there's going to be another strong low with wind and rain pushing into the southwest and west coast as well as across the Aleutian chain as we go through Friday and into this weekend. Quick check of some cameras. Dead Horse, all-time record high, as I mentioned, 88 degrees this afternoon at 2 o'clock. Look at that sunshine. They were getting some downslope coming, the southerly flow going down slope there, the north slope there, helped elevate temperatures. As we go up the Tanana Valley from Fort Wainwright, Fort Greely, all the way to Tok, red flag warnings for critical fire conditions. We've had temperatures in the 80s with low humidity and breezy conditions. There have been wind advisories in the Alaska range for southeast to south gap winds gusting 45 to as high as 65 miles an hour. Seward, steady rain, 55 degrees. You can see a cruise ship there docked there within Seward. The heavier rains in Kodiak City have let up. There'll still be periods of rain, not as heavy as what they were yesterday, but nevertheless very wet there along the northwest Gulf. Juneau, sunny skies, warm 75 degrees, but what another flooding episode. And you can see the Mendenhall Glacier from Pedersen Hill looking northeastward above Juneau, and that is, this region here is where the Suicide Basin is, where that water came down through, and as a result caused just all of this tremendous flooding. Now looking at the map, the flooded warning for the Mendenhall Lake and River has expired, but nevertheless the process now has to deal with assessing the damage and cleaning up. We still have a flood watch here along the eastern Kenai, western Prince William Sound for 3 to 6 inches of rain through Thursday afternoon. We still have an atmospheric river pumping moisture into this area, so there could be some minor flooding. Along the Alaska range, wind advisory, southeast to south winds into Wednesday because gusts could be up as high as 45 to 65 miles an hour. And then we still have some higher water levels along the rivers in central and east central, as well as back here toward the Seward Peninsula. Though we're not anticipating flooding, these high water levels, though, could impact recreation. And then the red flag warning in effect until late this Tuesday evening as a result of these breezy, warm, and low humidity conditions make for critical fire weather conditions. So I'm going to recap here what went down with this glacier dam release. This is the second year in a row now that a major flood event has occurred. And this has only evolved over the last, 14 years, since about 2010. Since with the glacier melting back, it's created this situation where the Suicide Basin, the glacier allows meltwater to dam up within here, and then at a certain point it reaches a critical point and then it releases. That began to happen on Sunday morning. The Juneau Forecast Office then issued a flood warning for Mendenhall Lake and the Mendenhall River before noon on Sunday, and then that warning was allowed to go through this afternoon to take into account the time it takes for this event to unfold. This is an image from early this morning from Lisa Murkowski, the U.S. Senator, and her Facebook site, and you can see here's the Mendenhall River, and look at the extensive flooding all through this area into the neighborhoods. There were reports of water into the lower levels of home along the river as much as 4 to 5 feet in depth, and even into some of these neighborhoods further from the river, water levels were 1 to 3 feet. So there's going to be a lot of flood-related damage, also debris that came down the river. Fitz Cove, you're going to want to watch for debris there for mariners that are about. But here's how this flood unfolded, and it followed the forecast crest really well. But we reached the peak, this new record crest, just shy of 16 feet. 15.99 feet happened around 2 a.m. this Tuesday morning. And look how fast, just as fast as it came up yesterday afternoon and evening, it came down this morning and afternoon. So we're now back below flood stage. So our hearts go out to everyone there in Juneau that have been impacted by this flooding. The big thing now is assessing damage and cleaning up. Fortunately, so far as of this point, there have been no injuries or fatalities to report. And looking at fire danger, highest along the Alcan border, especially up the middle upper Tanana Valley. That's why we have the red flag warning in effect for this region. Fire danger will gradually be going down across this region as we go through the rest of this week into the weekend. And looking at the satellite imagery, the big ridge of high pressure that was once over this weekend and on Monday through this part of the state has shifted eastward over northwest Canada, still impacting the Panhandle. And it's allowed for some very, very warm temperatures. That 88 degrees up there at Dead Horse is quite remarkable. But we have a number of lows in place. We have one low circulation here, another one up near St. Lawrence Island, and another one up here in the Chukchi. And there's different fronts and troughs that are working their way eastward very slowly because the ridge is not allowing this one front here that's kind of stuck near the west side of the Kenai Peninsula. It's a conduit for this atmospheric river, this band of moisture to ride northward and produce the heavier rainfall now along the eastern Kenai Peninsula and around areas of Prince William Sound. And even potentially into the Anchorage Bowl, an inch or more rain could fall since yesterday up through early Friday morning as a result of this moisture feed. Coolest temperatures have been along the west side of the state where you have all this cloud cover and occasional areas of rain and rain showers. Here's that occluded front that's very slowly working its way east, and along it we have that conduit of deep moisture that extends way down to tropical areas of the Pacific. And by the time we get into late tonight, early Wednesday morning, that front doesn't advance too much to the east. We have a few low pressure centers from the Chukchi Sea down to near St. Lawrence into the southeast Bering. And then by the time we get into Wednesday, that front just inches east-northeastward. Still some ridging out here over the eastern Gulf Panhandle along the Alcan border. Wednesday, there still will be another warm day here along the Alcan border and portions of the Panhandle, though not as warm in the Panhandle as it was here the past few days. And then Thursday afternoon, finally that front makes a little more eastward progress, but still the moisture feeding into areas around Prince William Sound and filling in on the backside up in the Anchorage Bowl and Kenai Peninsula. But at least the deeper tap of moisture running along this front will begin to shut down Thursday afternoon and certainly Thursday night into Friday. But here comes the next low. This is going to be a fairly decent system working its way eastward across the Bering Sea, and that'll bring the next round of wind and rain to the Aleutians and then pulling up into the Alaska Peninsula, hitting the southwest coast, up into the Seward Peninsula for this weekend, Friday into Saturday. And looking at temperatures, lows mild in the 50s all across the Panhandle, South Central, as we go into Wednesday afternoon, though, not as warm, maybe 72 there at Glen Ellen. Otherwise, with the cloud cover and rain, temperatures only a bit above 60. Across south central areas of the Panhandle, still 70s. There could be isolated 80-degree readings down here around Craig and Metlakatla. Also, fire danger will remain higher here, especially around Metlakatla, Ketchikan. So if a fire were to get started, it'd be able to burn pretty good. So just refrain from any type of outdoor burning down there until we cool things off a little bit, maybe get a little more rain in the future. But it's going to stay generally drier across this region for the foreseeable future. Lows again in the 50s, most areas with the exception along and west of the Alaska Range, some 40s. And then Thursday afternoon, highs still holding mid, maybe upper 50s, southern Panhandle, even 75 though at Skagway, but here to the west with the clouds, areas of rain. Temperatures may only stay just below 60 here across much of south central, Anchorage Bowl, Mat-Su Valley. Now looking to the north, lows generally in the 50s, very mild, even still some 50s along the Arctic coast, 40s along Point Hope down to along the Seward Peninsula. We still could see some temperatures around or maybe above 70 eastern Arctic coast, but not 88 like it was at Dead Horse. And then here, some 80s still showing up along the Elkan border, Yukon Flats down toward Northway. And Thursday morning, temperatures start to cool a bit, just a few more degrees cooler. And then again, just a slow cooling trend working its way eastward as we go through the rest of this week into the early weekend. Still an 80-some degree reading possible there at places like Eagle, but also back here along the Seward Peninsula, temperatures in the 40s along the immediate coast, 50s inland a bit. Not much change for the southwest. Some of the coolest temperatures, below normal temperatures here, continue throughout the southwest. Lows upper 40s to low 50s, upper 40s along the Alaska Peninsula, Aleutian Chain. Wednesday afternoon highs, you might get a 60 as you go up the Yukon River and get up to 63 toward McGrath, 58 Bethel. And then Thursday morning lows a little cooler into the 40s across even the southwest interior and then extending down along the Aleutians into the Aleutians, and daytime highs Thursday afternoon for southwest interior, low in mid 50s with more rain approaching from the Aleutians as we work through the day Friday into Saturday. And let's look at what the temperature outlook, no change from what I've been showing you as we get toward mid-month. Centered on August 14th, August 12th through the 16th. Temperatures are likely, the greatest potential for below normal temperatures will be across the southwest mainland, the Alaska Peninsula, including Kodiak Island, St. Lawrence, Nunavik Island, back through St. Matthew and St. Paul. And even a little cooler than normal here along the Panhandle compared to the weather that was experienced this past week and past weekend. Temperatures may average a little above normal along the eastern Arctic coast, northeast corner of the state, Arctic Village up toward Kaktovik. Precipitation-wise, the best chance for above normal precipitation, again, west side of the state, the northwest, places like Cape Lisburne down through Kotzebue, Nome, and maybe near normal precipitation than here across the Panhandle. But overall, a trend toward a little cooler temperatures than before will be the likely bet here as we move toward the middle of August.